Good afternoon, my peeps. Advanced Partners podcast series part 2. I'm here with my sidekick and good friend Kendra. Kendra, what's up?
Hello, Richard. Good to see you again. Always a
Oh,
pleasure.
here we go. You ready to rock and roll? We're going to warm it up today because it's freezing outside in Chicago
Woo.
and Pittsburgh. So let's time though this warm it up with the partnership.
Let's do it. It's a balmy 6 degrees here right now.
You
So
ready for this?
I'm ready
So
to talk
20,
partnership.
I'm going to tell you real quick, 2025, it's coming out. It's pretty strong. What's your take on all this?
Oh my goodness. I'm really interested in continuing to talk to staffing firm owners because I'm starting to see some themes and patterns, especially on the light industrial and the healthcare side, those segments. Like one of them being, these big dogs are coming and coming for a business in the more regional areas where, firms have been for 20 years and they're, coming in at a lower price. And yep. And we're just now starting to see those regional players win their business back because the customers learn their error of their ways. So it's just who can survive this and who can take these challenges and make them opportunities. It's really interesting. Yeah. It's
been fun. And I always say this all the time before we jump into it, is value. You got to reevaluate your value. If you're getting something dirt cheap, you better check it out because I don't think the service is going to be there.
Man, so true. So true. Yes. And reevaluate how to communicate your value because some folks think no news is good news, but no, I mean, you still need to be checking on those customers and those clients and reminding them, just selling them every chance you get on your value.
Communication. Mm-hmm. I say that C for cookie. Communicate, peeps.
Yes.
All right, Kendra. So the big topic today is partnerships. And I think a lot of people, I'm going to elaborate in this real quick. Some don't understand what a partnership is. It's more than a handshake, a fist pump, a hug. Let's deep dive into that. What truly makes a successful partnership?
Yeah. Well, first things first, success isn't just about money, and I'm 6 months into working with Advanced Partners and building this partnerships program. And we already had existing partners in place and things, but like really formalizing it. Right. Mm-hmm. And I've had to remind myself that it's not just about the financial metrics because you get in, I want to prove myself. I want to show my worth. I want to sell my value. And so it's like, how can, what are those metrics related to the financial side of the business? That's easy to get caught up in focusing on that, but that's not a long-term play. When you're building a program that's meant to last, you really got to think about what's mutually beneficial, what's the long-term value for each other, and are you even aligned strategically, right? So I'm thinking about market reach, like service expansion, what do advanced clients want, need, interviewing them, surveying our client base, just to get a really strong understanding, not just for myself, but for our partners as well, right? Our potential partners, like want them to understand our client base and their needs. Because a lot of clients are looking for innovation, right?
Yes.
And how can we, use these partnerships to really help innovate not just our clients' business, but the industry as a whole. And that's more the long-term play. So I think one thing, and if you Google this, because I did in preparation for this.
Here we go.
It's like, a successful partnership is one where all parties experience mutual value and growth. And that sounds really great, right? But how in the world do you get there? How do you get there? And so again, I think that shared vision is super important. Shared vision, a little bit of shared culture, right? Like if my team and your team are going to be in constant communication, if I'm having to reach out to you with a fire drill here and there, because it's maybe a new lead or a new opportunity or something's come up, like when those things happen, you want to have some sort of similar culture or understanding or just genuine likeness like for each other because you're in the trenches a bit, right? Mm-hmm. And so understanding that there's a shared culture there and that you all have a vision for your clients. Advanced Partners is so good about investing back into this industry and really realizing the value in doing so. And because of that, I'm looking for partners who feel just as strongly. They're not here to build a company, make as much money as possible, and sell it to whoever. It's like, who is really investing in our industry? And so I think that's another important piece when you're considering alignment and culture. Richard, I could go on for days on this. Do you want me to keep
I
going?
love this. You know what? I got to say one thing. One thing I always say, and it's my word for 25, is valuetainment. You got to have value, but you also got to have some entertainment, humor.
Yeah.
That's how you connect with partners. This being stiff all the time, Kendra, it doesn't really work.
No, it's true. Valuetainment. I love that.
Woo! Valuetainment is here. Well, it's all I bring all the time now.
You do. Absolutely. So yeah, when you're thinking about how are we bringing value? Are we wanting to, do we want the same things, et cetera? But is there going to be a lasting impact? Because getting a new partner up and running and adding them to your program and then pulling them into your content calendar, whatever you may be doing when you're building these partnerships, that it's a heavy lift. It's not simple. It's not as easy as like, let's sign an NDA and a contract and call it a day. So not if it's a good partnership. So you really want to make sure that this is going to have a lasting impact, and that, your entire team, your sales org, your marketing org, your company's bought into this partnership. And so I think one of those ways you can do that is just really becoming deeply integrated, and yes, like a monthly meeting is super helpful. Let's just check all our boxes, make sure we're not missing anything. But then, following them on social, seeing what they've got going on, asking them, product wise, do they have any new announcements in the pipe? Like understanding their business the same way you strive to understand your client's business is really, really helpful. And it requires some intention because we're all so busy, right? Like I recognize we are all so busy. Yes. And so taking some time, carving out some time to really look at your partners and what they have going on within their business can be a game changer and really help you sustain that relationship for sure.
I love what you said there. And I'm going to lead it like this: listen, learn, and lead. That's the key.
Yeah.
Them 3 L's. If you got to listen first. And I love what you said that, Kendra, because so many people in a partnership, everybody says, I know, no. You got to listen to each other so you can, it's almost like a marriage.
Very true. Listen, learn, and lead, Richard. That is so on point, because you want to build a relationship built on trust. So a lot of that comes from, I'm trying to not use war terms in my day-to-day corporate.
Come on, give it to us.
It's so hard, but when you're in the trenches with someone, that is a really foolproof way to build trust. And that's something that only comes when you're really making an effort to work together. So it's beyond those monthly calls and check-ins and et cetera. It's like, okay, let's go try to win this together, or let's figure out how to overcome this challenge, or figure out this technology integration, whatever it may be. You'll come out from the other side of that better. And so you'll come out from the other side of it better if you focus on that listening and learning. Like if you're really focused on open communication, you've got that mutual respect for each other, and you're genuinely committed to each other's success. I think that when you have that secret sauce, you end up knowing that you have a partner you can rely on. And that's so important. That is so important, especially in today's market, as challenging as it is. You really want to know you can rely on the folks that you're bringing into the fold.
I love what you said. And I think so many people connect with partnerships and it is fade away. The true partnership, it's a very low percentage. Give us a little secret of Kendra, the sauce. So when a new partner, give us a little steps of what you actually do in the beginning. I mean, the phone call, give everybody so they can feed off you, because you're a master at this, Kendra. You know how to do this because you're real.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I'm figuring it out every day. I first and foremost am working to make sure I have a really good understanding of my client base, our client base at Advance, right? Before I get on the phone with a potential partner, I need to understand who our clients are, what tools they're using, what they're asking about, what they're interested in, et cetera. And there are ways you can do that without having to go to your client base and survey them, or, if you don't have an advisory board, things like that. There are other ways. You can look at what content has been performing the best on your site. who's been reading what articles have been read the most, what webinars have been the best attended. It'll give you at least an inkling of, all right, these are areas and topics that are really high interest to our clients. Yeah. So having that understanding is crucial before you even pick up the phone. And then drinking a bit of your own Kool-Aid. Like I don't, it's like you want to be excited about what you're pitching, right? You want to be excited about the company's, the company strategy, where we're planning on going for the next few years, having an understanding around that and being excited about it, because that's contagious. And so I think those are two things you want to consider before you even pick up the phone. And then those first couple calls, they remind me of my days in M&A. When I was working in investment banking, the goal of every single meeting was to get another meeting. That was it.
Yeah.
And it's different than staffing sales, or, it's a different mindset, because it's not such direct sales. You're not like, okay, I need to do my discovery, check. I need to, formulate my value prop based off of the discovery, check. And now I need to sell, check. It's not that. It's not that. It's a slower burn, and it really is to get that next meeting. And the reason that's so important is because you're learning each other, and you're also moving through a process. And so it's like, okay, yes, we got to get the NDA signed. Let's get that knocked out. I know our legal team's so tired of me. I send them, I don't know how many NDA requests a week, because we want to make sure that's taken care of. But once that's started, all right, now what are our goals or outcomes for the next meeting? I never hang up without having the next one on the calendar.
I love that part.
It's so important, right? And here are just one or two quick goals, because you're asking a lot. And again, everyone's busy. So if I'm asking someone from your marketing team, oh, can you build me or can you kind of map out what the content for a one-pager that we would share with our sales team? Like, that's additional work on top of what they need to do for their org. So just keeping that in mind, and really making sure that you have one or two really clear, concise goals for each of you. And that next call on the books is crucial. And then thinking about how this is going to either bring innovation to our clients, or it's going to expand our capabilities. Like, what is the shared goal here? What's in it for them, right? Like, I want to think about how we can explore new service offerings, maybe how we can reach new markets. Yep. And obviously how to solve industry challenges. So think about those pillars when you're getting on the phone to have a partnership conversation, and be ready to answer those questions and to get their thoughts, because you want to make sure they're like-minded.
Man, you hit it right on the head there. I love that part. You know what? And so many people, I got to say it out there, Kendra, they skip it all to the end. They just want that partnership.
Yeah.
And you're building a foundation there.
Yes, no, yeah, you have to. I want to see demos. I want to know what you got going on. I want to know what you're hearing out in the market. And so, yeah, like I said, it's a slower burn, but it's worth it for that lasting impact.
I love it. Okay, so one part I want to talk about is navigating, potential conflicts of interest. This is something that comes up a lot. You know that. So break it down for us.
We got all day. We got all day. That one's tough. So it's really a matter of aligning goals. I think that's really what it's about. Aligning goals and maintaining trust. That's the bottom line there. And you really thinking about, like, again, it goes to that open communication, that listening and learning, that communication, that transparency. Like, are we being upfront with each other, having those honest conversations? It's not fun to call a partner and say, you know what, that dinner was a dud. That event wasn't great. Like, that's not a fun conversation to have. But if we're going to build trust, then you need to know where I stand or where my team stands, right? So that's an important piece, like having those uncomfortable conversations. I've had to learn that comes, sometimes I think that comes.
Okay. So I gotta ask you, Kendra, live on the spot. So when you have to say that, if it's a dud, because not everything's great, we can't say, that conference was great. That was great. What's your reaction? What's the reaction of your partners?
It varies. Sometimes it's relief. Like, oh, I'm so glad you said it. you know?
Oh yeah, of course. It's like I
Like
wanted
there
to
are
think. I
times,
thought it all along.
yeah, there are times where it's relief. A lot of times it's just about giving someone a moment to process, giving them the time to process,
Mhm.
because you know they may kind of freeze and not have much to say in the moment. I just trust that they know my intent and
Yeah.
trust my intent because I've only shown that consistently, so that when we circle back to it, maybe the next call, like how can we make it better? Because that's it. The problem solving 101. You don't bring a problem without a potential solution. Um, or some questions to get us there. And so if I have some feedback that's not so great, then I'm going to come with like, maybe, okay, I have a better example. We've been waiting on these few items and we've had 3 monthly calls and things aren't moving very well. Like, let's go through them again. Okay. Let's talk through this article, for example. You're supposed to submit an article so that we can publish it. Let's talk
Right.
through it. Let me hold your hand a bit. And it's a good thing because I want to understand where the holdup is. And then we can have a good conversation, a helpful conversation. I could pull in someone from marketing to help. I mean, that's recently happened, where things were at a bit of a standstill. I'm like, you know what? Oh, you haven't done this before? I know someone who has. Let me see if she's around. And a week later, we got what we needed. And so it's really about being ready to help, and not just that generic, how can I help? Let me know. It's like, no, let's dig in a
Mhm.
bit. And noticing when things have been at a standstill, or aren't moving smoothly, like paying attention. Which is half the battle for me personally, is keeping an eye on everything, all of the moving parts. Because you might hang up from 3 monthly check-ins and then go back and look at the big picture and
Yeah.
realize, oh, we're missing the mark here. And Richard, that's my lifelong lesson, is remembering the big picture. So
Oh, you do. Tweaking and turning everything. I always say this whole business partnership is, it's a journey. It's going to go
yeah,
up and down, but you have to
yeah,
tweak and turn a lot of things. People think it's just a partnership and it goes straight. It never
yeah.
goes straight.
No, it really doesn't. It doesn't. And that's why it's important to have clear agreements, like really clear expectations, really clear agreements, so that if we could have these well-defined, like KPIs, these well-defined responsibilities, all of those things, then if things start going awry, we can bring it back to that. And so, as much as I personally am more of a go with the flow type person, professionally, I like having a lot of that up front. Let's get that sorted now so that we
Mhm.
can hold each other accountable, even when it's uncomfortable.
I love how you said that word, accountable. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
Everybody points the finger at somebody else.
No, not in partnerships.
That's right. You're in it together, right? You win together and you slide together. We won't
Absolutely.
say lose. You slide together.
Yep. Clear set agreements and KPIs, that clear vision and goals up front, like all of that's so important at the front end of it all. Because if you have that, even when you're having tough conversations, or even when you're really excited about something, if as long as you can bring it back to those goals, the vision, and what you agreed on, it's going to be your North Star. That'll be your North Star. So I think that's so, so important.
I love when you
And
said it.
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So I got to just say this real quick. I
Yeah.
love when you said it's a dud. Okay. So when it's a dud, you know what I do? I send a picture of milk duds to people. It's a dud. Or if it's in person, they get it on their desk. You're getting milk duds from me if it's a dud, and we're going to revamp that. So it'd be nice.
Yeah.
You eat the milk duds. It's nice and sweet, and then we regroup from there.
Yeah, and then we'll regroup. Exactly. I mean, and that's important too, to remind them what they're doing right.
Yeah.
Before you have the dud conversation, like, these things are going great. So let's talk about that. One of the things for me, like when we're thinking about upfront, this just came into my mind when I'm thinking about, aligning upfront on goals and et cetera. It's what impact could this have on the industry as a whole? Is
Mhm.
thinking bigger than our mutual client base and thinking about the industry, because I think that the most successful partnerships really are going to contribute and have a positive impact. And it could be, whether it's like improving candidate experience, client experience, driving efficiency, whatever it may be. Like, how could we set up on a panel at the next conference and talk about how we've helped the industry as a whole? Like, thinking about it like that,
Yes.
having having that visual of, like, you know what, what that conversation would be like. I think that's really helpful too.
I love it. I think the big slogan I always say is make everyone shine in 25. It's about making people shine. If you can do that with partnerships, it's amazing. One thing I want to elaborate on is, okay, so you have leaders in these businesses. How do they build a stronger partnership? Because within the organization they're in, a lot of them want to build these partners, but how do they do this?
Ooh, first and foremost, be a value creator. And that can mean different things. We already talked about it's not just about money. Obviously, that's one path for sure. But how else can you bring value? Maybe it's gathering data from your clients that you haven't looked at before, that the leadership hasn't looked at before, because that's a way you can bring value across the industry as well. Like, hey, this is what our clients are doing. And, thinking about how you can bring value across the organization and across the industry and to different partners. Maybe you're looking at how you can provide a service, a very niche service to your client base that they maybe haven't had access to previously without paying thousands and thousands of dollars. Because, if you do it with a target group, a smaller group, they can get a very similar, SME experience without having to pay like that one-on-one. That's a way to bring value and to be a value creator. So getting creative and thinking about, where your clients are at and who's out there in the industry that you want to work with or that you find interesting and that, we're doing some cool things. Another thing is education. You can bring value. You can be a value creator through education. Absolutely. Like bringing a partner on for a thought leadership piece, for a webinar, it's great exposure for them. They don't have to sell their product. Some of my favorite webinars I've been invited to attend, I was amazed by how they barely touched on their product or service, but had an entire conversation that they could bring back to that. And if done well, that's really, really, really helpful. And certainly a value creator, creating leads that way, et cetera. So, and then how else can they do that? I think that, again, that relationship building, Richard, I mean, that's just
that big R word, right?
Yes. You know me, I'm a believer of the power of partnerships and people. Woo! So you got to be the
power of the people. Woo! Can I say that again?
Yeah. And so really building those genuine relationships and making sure that there's mutual understanding. I can't stress that enough. I really can't. And I'm learning it every day, right? And with that comes being a good listener and communicator. I fall guilty of I'll read an email and think, oh, this is good. I have some thoughts. I'm going to send this later tonight. And I can look up and now it's the next day at lunch and I'm responding. And so I'm working on that where I'll just send a quick note like, hey, received, we'll get back to you. Which can be a little uncomfortable at first. So if anyone has any feedback or thoughts on that, I am all ears. What you're doing, like what folks are doing in this modern day of that with this expectation of immediate replies and responses, because I want to be thoughtful in the conversations that I'm having, the conversations and the correspondence that I'm having with partners. So when you're really you're like a new leader in partnerships, you're an aspiring leader, just thinking about that. And one of the reasons why that's so important is because it inspires others to just embrace the collaboration, because that's what it really boils down to. Like, do we have a shared mindset to collaborate? Mm-hmm. And are we going to be sharing resources? We're going to share knowledge, expertise, all of that. And that requires trust. And hence why you need to be a good listener and communicator. And then some of the, the sales 101, just that persistence, that proactiveness, keeping those things in mind, measuring success.
Yes.
Even those small wins, big wins, so that you're ready. This was some of the best advice I ever received. And it was like, just be ready to be on an elevator with a client or one of your own execs and not just tell them what it is you do, but one of your most recent wins. Like, oh, you know what? I am leading partnerships as advanced partners. And in the last 6 months, I've brought in this number of potential partners and this, and this, like very specific, just a doop. And because it's not just this is my title and what I do, it's a win that they will
Yeah,
now
you
have
still remember
attached.
that.
Yes, a story, a
It's
quick
a
story.
teaser. It's a
Yes.
teaser. 15
Mm-hmm.
second teaser. You're like, oh,
Mm-hmm. It's more
Kendra
than an
gets off the
elevator.
elevator, like, holy cow, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
reach out to her.
Mm-hmm. It's more than an elevator pitch. And so I think if you're an aspiring leader, to always have that ready, and it should be changing on a regular basis as you discover those wins to celebrate. So the last bit, which is in my mind, probably the most important, or
Drum
at least,
roll. Let's do it.
at least this is the most important, like foundationally, excuse me, is industry knowledge. It's so key. I'm so
Yes.
surprised by how many folks service our industry and have not a clue about what is going on in the world. And so,
No, they're still like AI
yeah,
agents. That keywords in our head for the last 2 months. Come on. I mean,
yeah,
it's like,
no,
you're right.
you have to have a deeper understanding than that. Like you really need to understand our landscape and staffing, like what the trends are. And we have so many great resources. You know, we have the content and the research that SIA puts out, that ASA puts out. It's like there are so many opportunities. There's no excuse to just keep yourself acclimated with what is happening in our industry, so that you can speak the language. It's just so important. So it's easy to get caught up in your island. Even the terminology,
Oh,
like internally, you may call you may call something one thing, but you need to know what your clients call it.
exactly. Adapt.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm.
What you did 7 years ago is totally obsolete in staffing. I mean,
Yeah,
we're in a new
yeah,
generation. I call all my cans peeps. That's just my
yep.
word. They're my peeps.
Yep, you know it, Richard. You know it. So,
I love everything
mhm.
you said, Kendra. Real quick, one last thing is, so what's your take on, I mean, your position is very important and for advanced partners. Other businesses, I really think they're going that route now and following what you guys do and have a partnership person on site for them to help out. Can you give a
Yeah,
little insight on that? I mean, because at the end of the day, I think it's so key that if you don't have somebody just like you in each business, the loophole and people's going to just fall through and never get connected.
yeah. You want someone who's waking up and going to sleep thinking about partnerships, and that's so that for several reasons. One, your sales team can focus on what they do best. Your leadership team can focus on what they do best, and you have someone who's out there who knows the industry, who is building a network across the industry, so that you can build these long-lasting partnerships. And I mean, when you think about organic revenue growth and how other ways that you can complement that, channel partnerships is a really straightforward, sensible way to go after that. And so you're leaving money on the table if you don't have someone who's focused on partnerships.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Kendra, where can everybody find you at? We know LinkedIn, everywhere else.
Yes, yep. Find me on LinkedIn. Or text me, for the love of God. Please don't email me. I just told y'all I'm working on that. So
Text Kendra.
text me. Text me or message me on DM on LinkedIn, please.
Well, hey, thank you so much, Kendra. This is so important, this partnership. I can't wait for part number 3, but it's so
Same.
important. People out there, get out there, do some handshakes, but a little deeper, and get it out there and enjoy the partnership.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Yes.
it. Like Kendra, you're laughing, you're smiling. Partnerships are supposed to be fun.
They are. It's fun, challenging, and something different every day. So
That's it. All right, guys, that's it for this time. That's a wrap. We'll see you next time.
thanks, everyone.
See ya.